Hi, this is Nadia, and you're watching Two Mics Up.
What's happening, everybody? It's your man Dame DNYDC. It's two mics up. It's Monday night, and tonight, man, what more can I say? This is the best way, in my opinion, to close out a spectacular eighth season with our 200th episode. And it's summertime here in the DMV, and who doesn't like music to add to that summertime vibe? Well, tonight, to add to your summertime vibe, we have an incredible guest. We're going all the way, across the pond and way over across the pond, further and further, probably the furthest that we've been on this show with an amazing guest. And man, she's a singer, she's a songwriter, and all I can say is, well, how about I say it this way? How about I just go ahead and let you all just take a listen? Now, I don't own any of the rights to this music, but our guest does. So we're going to go ahead and just give you a little snippet of what's coming.
Ever since I saw your face, ever since you took my breath, I dreamt of you. Now I can spend 1,000 days, smell 1,000 flowers, my heart.
Now, do I need to say anything more? Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for the incredibly talented Nardia. Nardia, how are you doing today?
I'm doing really great. You were just talking about summer over there, and we are in absolute winter here in Australia.
Okay, well, look at that.
I've got my scarf on, a jumper. So I'm coming over to the US next week, so I am looking forward to your summer.
Well, listen, we welcome you. We want you to come on, and this is the perfect time. The stars align. Your music is incredible. I've actually added it both songs to a couple of my personal playlists. It's very soulful, sultry. But before we really get into that, Naughty, I always like to start at the beginning because I think that's the most important piece. Like,
Yeah.
give us in our audience some background as to who you are, where you're from. Australia, we got that part, but what inspired you also to move on as a singer and a songwriter?
Yeah, for sure. So yes, I am. I'm from the land down under, very far away from the US, from a place called Melbourne in Australia.
Okay.
I'd say it's the capital of music here in Australia. But yes, I'm a singer-songwriter. I've been doing it all my life. I recently, I've been to the US twice this year.
Okay.
So this will be my third time coming in July. I recently was in a challenge where in Australia came first in the Australian Blues Challenge. And as a result of that, I was flown over to the US to compete in Memphis in the International Blues Challenge, which was a lot of fun. And that was in January this year. So myself and my band were flown over, and we competed against, I think, some of the most amazing musicians in the world and from all around the world. And we came top 5. So we're very happy with that achievement.
All right. All right.
So that's how this has come about. This is why I've come back to the US in April, whereby I have been recording and then completed my album.
All right.
And now coming back in July for a bit of a tour. I'll be there as of next week, so I'm very excited.
Listen, well, I'm excited, and we want to make sure we share those tour dates and everything because I really want people to really get to hear you and really get to see what you're all about because it's very what's the word I want to say with your music? It for me, this preparing for this and really listening, it feels very vulnerable. It's very personal, and
Yeah.
it does have some very universal themes. Like, how do you balance that? The vulnerability while making it relatable when you're writing these songs and performing your songs?
Yeah, that's a very good question. I think for me, when I do music, it all comes from my heart. You know, it all comes from a place of my experiences, what I'm feeling at the time, the storytelling, and the message that I'm trying to portray. And so, you know, balancing that emotion and vulnerability in your voice, but also using technical ability from the
Mhm,
foundations that I have. You know, my background in music is very much in the genres of jazz, soul, and blues,
mhm.
and R&B as well. And I think, you know, having those foundations, you know, from a very young girl in those genres, and then sort of evolving and using that in my new music that I have today, is certainly something that I think makes it unique and different.
Yes, yes.
And I absolutely love it. And I think, you know, I've made an R&B album, and what I love about R&B is that you can kind of mesh up a few genres, because it
Mhm,
all comes from that place. And in particular, you know, the blues, that's sort of where it started, and then it kind of evolved into hip hop and R&B. And I think
mhm.
that's what's really great about, yeah, just having that. I've got an old soul, so you know I really love those older genres, and
Yes.
learning from those iconic artists, you
Yeah.
know, that, yeah, that have been there and
I
done that and it's great songs.
just listening to your sound, you really tapped on something too that, and this is me. You know, I don't want to show my age. I know I'm a little bit older, but growing up on traditional soul songs, and there are just some artists that as soon as they open their mouth, you feel that soul, right? It's not digitized. It's none of that. And when I first heard your song, I was like, wow. It really, really spoke to my soul, and it really made me stand up and have to really dig in. Like, okay, like who is this woman? And no, really. And then because now again, being musically inclined myself, I want to ask you too, because then there's this part of the creative process also, you know, and a lot of times it comes from a spark or an idea to get to the final
Yes.
production. Are there in that for you? Are there any routines or rituals that maybe you go through to kind of help you, uh, spur on an idea that maybe you had or something that you heard to take it to final production like you did on this album?
Yeah. Yeah, look, I'm a creative type, so I definitely am not someone who follows routine.
Mhm.
I'm very spontaneous, and you know, and find different ways that I bring on my creativity. But certainly, my most favorite thing to do when I'm songwriting is to collaborate with
Mm,
other people. And so on this particular tune, Is It You? I collaborated with a very great, you know, friend of mine who's an amazing musician. His name's Matt Robb.
mhm,
And he actually put this track together, and we sat in his studio, and I started writing to the lyrics to this song. And I think in that moment, I was channeling a situation where I was kind of unhappy in my relationship, but I had met someone, and you know when you meet someone for the first time and you don't know them, like you know nothing about them,
mhm,
but there's this, you know, and you meet like good looking people and you go, wow, they're really good looking and they're hot,
mhm.
but you meet someone and there's this like connection, and
Yeah,
it's like a spark, it's a connection, you can't ignore it, you don't know what it is, you're like, but it's so strong.
yeah.
um and that's really what that this song is about. It's about that moment, where you meet that person and you're just trying to discover what that is, and you're trying to understand what's beyond that spark, and you're
Mm,
like, could it be more, or is it
yeah,
just a fling, or is it nothing,
mm,
you know?
yeah.
And yeah, it's that moment.
You know, even in that moment, like looking at the video, is it you? And tell me again, I don't want to show my age, but nostalgically looking, it had a an Alicia Keys vibe, like that in that moment.
Yeah.
Yeah. So was that also part of like, the thought process when you guys were putting this together? Because that to me, listening to the words and actually it was the perfect connection. But like I said, it felt nostalgic also as maybe paying homage, to someone like an Alicia Keys in that thought process. So was that part of the team's thought process or your thought process when you wanted to bring the visual aspect, to life for us?
So talk about the film clip itself.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, look, I certainly, in general, like to play homage to my most favorite type of R&B, which is
Okay.
90s R&B. I think,
Okay.
that was a really amazing time where R&B was at its greatest, I think.
Hmm.
And in terms of the film clip, that was a really interesting one. So I have a videographer that I've now done a few film clips with, and he's such a amazing creative type and a wonderful person to work with. And when it comes to writing lyrics to songs, I don't really get writer's block. I'm very fluid and natural to write new songs. But coming up with video clips, I get a bit of film clip block. And I go, how am I going to bring this, song to life in a visual way? So I contacted Matt Kelly, who did this film clip, and I sent him the song, and I told him what it was about, and he goes, leave it with me. I'll have a sit with it, and I'll come back to you with an idea. And less than 24 hours later, he gave me a call, and he said, Nardia, I've got the best idea for you. And I said, okay. And he goes, hear me out. He's like, okay, so basically I found this venue. It's like an old retro style type diner.
Hmm.
Now, we don't have diners in Australia at all. Like,
Really?
no, we have cafes and restaurants.
Okay.
Very, very, very different to America. So this diner was, paying tribute to like a diner from America.
Okay.
And he says, and you go there and you're like meant to be meeting a date, but then the date stands you up and you end up falling in love with the burger guy.
Yeah. Yeah.
And and then you're wondering if it's a dream. You don't know if it's reality or it's actually really happening. Like, that's how we're going to bring the story to life.
Like that.
And I was like, I love this concept. I go, you had me at falling in love with the burger guy. So so he was the brains behind it. And then if you watch the film clip, you'll sort of see how that transition of in the burger place and the flirtation that's happening between me and the actor that's in it, and all the way through to where the mirror ball sort of comes down and we have this dancing scene, and you don't know whether that's actually a dream or it's really, really happening.
It was awesome. I mean, great concept. And like I say, not dating myself, but it felt and looked so natural and real. And then, like you said, taking it back to that genre of R&B, it just felt so natural. What do they say now? Everything that's old is new again. And it
Yeah.
feels, and it feels like it's the perfect time, for your music, that look. Your sound is incredible. And I want to also just kind of transition and ask, as an artist, Nardia, navigating like today's music industry, because I'm pretty sure there's a lot of challenges that you've had to deal
Oh,
with. But what are some of the biggest challenges that you had to deal with? And two, how have they shaped your growth, both personally and professionally?
yeah. I mean, look, there is a lot of challenges. I guess what's really changed for artists compared to back then is these digital streaming services now.
Yeah.
Prior to that, we were all able to make albums and sell them, whether it was on, vinyls or tapes or CDs. Back in those, I mean, I was younger back then when all of that was around, but it's a really different time. So right now it's all about the numbers you have behind your music, and as an artist you think, oh, I just want to be a creative type and I just want to make music and make art,
Right.
but it's not about that anymore. You have to be a brand. Like, you have to be a brand. You have to be someone who stands for something and is more than just your music. You've got to make content, you've got to get your numbers up, and you can't just make music. Like, you've got to put promo behind your stuff to get it out there. You've got to do marketing. If you don't do that, no one's going to hear your music because it's just going to stay within your close circle. And so, there's pros and cons to this new environment, because the digital world, I guess, as an independent artist, it allows you to kind of talk your own language and have creative control where your music goes and who you want to target as part of that. So yeah, I'd say that's challenging. You know, you've got to have the financial backing to really market yourself.
Yeah.
And you know, I have a side job. You know, I actually work in marketing. That's my profession when I'm not doing music. Yeah.
So that kind of helps balance though too. You have some knowledge and some industry insight that can kind of help navigate that or push that. And I will say, even though, you know, your marketing team, the folks that, you know, I've had the pleasure of working with them with several clients of theirs. They're extremely amazing as well. And it is true. Having that to be able to really sell yourself as a brand, not, you know, Nardia is the brand, you know, and
That's
having, you know what I'm saying? And having to put yourself out, but I'm want to imagine and guess that it gets tiring though at times, because sometimes you feel like, you know, there's no break, right? And
Yeah.
who's the
You're
person?
always
Who are the people? You always, right? So I have to ask then too, because this is the personal side. Like, who's pouring into Nardia's cup, you know, and keeping you refreshed and ready to go? You know what I'm saying? Because that's the side that we don't see also, you know. But there has to be somebody or a team of people. So who are those people that's doing that for you on a daily basis?
Well, and that's the biggest thing I have to say I've learned, and to all other artists that are out there, it's to have a team behind you that believes in you and what you're doing. And certainly, you know, I have a guy named Darren James from Stinger Boy Entertainment, and he has helped me with a lot of the production of my music and, you know, just setting up situations for me in the US. I've recently brought on Brandon from A Miracle Marketing, and he's become my publicist, who's, you know, helped get me a lot of things, and working with lots of different producers and, you know, just a lot, and radio people to kind of help you get your music out in the digital world, as well as FM and mainstream radio. You really do need that team behind you, and it is all about networking, and it is all about, like, being respectful and patient. You know, you can't expect your music to make something and then it just does well, you know, and you can't get disheartened if it doesn't, because it doesn't mean you're not good. It just means that perhaps it wasn't the right moment at the right time, or perhaps it wasn't hitting the mark like other songs that are out there at the moment. But you can't be hard on yourself, you know, as long as you're being true to yourself and your message. And I have to say, for me personally, I don't care about fame and fortune. I care about whether my art and my music and my songwriting is making a difference in somebody's lives and is touching them in a certain way. For me, that is the biggest win than anything else.
And I would have to agree with you, because your music did, like I said, as soon as we dived in and I got the information and listened, it did touch me. It really moved me. It really did. Because again, it's just, your sound is very old, and soulful, and sultry. So that really stands out in the market today. But I want to take a quick pause, and we're going to come back and we're going to talk about your new single, "Is It You," and your summer song and everything else. And now we're going to dive into the real part of why we're here tonight, ladies and gentlemen. But don't go anywhere. We're going to take a short pause for the cause. We're going to thank our sponsors for allowing us to be here each and every week and to talk to such incredible, talented human beings such as Nardia. So don't go anywhere. We'll be right back after this short 90-second break.
94 Media House specializes in transformative digital design that elevates your brand to new heights. Whether you need stunning graphic design, impactful branding, or a captivating web presence, our team is here to bring your vision to life. Join the ranks of successful businesses that trust 94 Media House for their digital design needs. Let's make your brand unforgettable. Contact us today.
Experience unforgettable memories with Riddick Entertainment and Events, the premier event planners in Northern Virginia. We specialize in crafting extraordinary weddings and events tailored to your vision. Led by the husband and wife team of Saeed and Michelle Riddick, we ensure your special day is stress-free and memorable. Don't leave your memories to chance. Let Riddick Entertainment help you create lasting moments. Contact us today to start planning your unforgettable event.
Unleash flavor with Tico Rico hot sauce, made from fresh, homegrown peppers for a vibrant taste. Enjoy the perfect blend of heat and zest with our habanero and refreshing serrano lime sauces. Ideal for tacos, seafood, or salads, Tico Rico enhances any dish. Join the Tico Rico family today and elevate your meals with our award-winning sauces. Visit us online to grab your starter kit and discover the magic of Tico Rico.
All right, ladies and gentlemen, we are fresh back out the break with the incredibly talented Nardia. If you, for whatever reason, I don't know how you got to the midpoint of this, but you need to go back, get some info on today's talented guest. But we're going to jump in right now, Nardia, into your music. And right now, your new single, "Is It You," has such an evocative sound. And we talked about some of it, but I want to go a little bit further and really the track itself. I want to try just the track alone, because the lyrics are touching. But how did we really get to the track? Because it married so well with your lyrics. Like, how long did it really take you to kind of get in there and create, this marriage? Because this is really a perfect summer track and a summer love song. If I can really be honest, like how did that, go? How did you blend those two with the track and everything?
Yeah, I mean, look, I was in the studio and I connected with the track when Matt showed me it, and I just started singing along to it. And I remember just going, "Ever since I saw your face," and I was just sort of like, da, 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 and I was making little melodies, and I dreamt of you, and it just came to me. And the thing about me as a vocalist is I don't sort of just sing. I sort of use my voice as an instrument. So I'm hearing the notes. I've got a really good ear, and I'm thinking, oh, where can I place my vocals to kind of take it to another level? And just structuring a song in particular, when you get to the chorus, it's got to be a bit more hooky. It's got to lift so that it has a bit more emphasis on the message that you're trying to portray. So, and I'm sort of sitting there and I'm getting to the next part. I can't take anything. It just came to me so naturally, sometimes. Wow. And I think I wrote that song in maybe five minutes. I didn't take very long. I was just there hearing it. I'm someone who can jam on a stage when I'm like with a band and just come up with lyrics on the spot. So, I find that very natural and easy. And with this particular track, that beautiful entrance with the guitar entry, dun, 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 it just felt, just really natural.
Really
and look, I think, after we had put it down as a demo, it did sit in my little vault of other songs for a little while.
Okay.
I did the challenge and I thought I was going to release it before I went off to do the challenge in America, but I thought, I'll hold off on that. And, prior to leaving, I went in to Troy Productions, and there's a guy named Ivan Kachoan, and he actually, whilst Matt composed it and, produced elements of it, and then I wrote the lyrics to it, we went to Troy Productions to finalize the song and take it to the next level of, getting to that final production. And Troy's won a lot of awards, and he's one of our greatest, producers in Melbourne from a real big soul background. He actually originates from Canada and America. He's actually moved from there to Australia. And very talented, took the song to a new level, made sure, mixing it and every element of the song was perfect. I came back in to redo my vocals after the demo. I then layered my harmonies in certain bits, and Ivan, kind of said, "Oh, I think we should add this." I don't know if you remember the part where it goes, "I dreamt of you," and there's all the harmonies being layered in there.
Yeah.
So all of the harmonies kind of came a little bit later. And for me, one of my favorite things to do is to layer harmonies, because, I grew up in a background where, I grew up in church, and we did harmonies there. And then, as my music career started to progress, I also sang backup vocals for many other artists as well.
Okay.
So I hear harmonies very easily, and you'll
Mm-hmm.
notice in a lot of my songs, I like to do my own vocal layers and harmonies.
Nothing wrong with that. It's beautiful. It really
Yeah.
is. It comes across so full, very beautiful. And like I said, we really like it. And I hope you when you come over that you do take America by storm. The talent is off the charts, and
Oh,
then
thank you.
oh yeah, it's definitely without question. And then again for summer you have a whole new summer release called Hold On that
Yes.
that probably that has a whole different vibe. And how does this track like reflect? Because it really made me think like how does it reflect where you are now musically and emotionally? Because it kind of takes a different direction, in my opinion. So where were you at with that and that release?
Are you have you heard Hold On?
So I've dug in and I've gotten snippets. I
Ah,
can't find the whole thing, but I've been digging and I've been finding snippets.
you've seen it on my socials, my little
See, I
sneaky.
look here. I'm looking. I'm trying to find this stuff. Yes, but it seems different. The vibe seems different. So, like, is there
Right.
different place and space for you?
Oh, look, the vibe is it's different, but it's still got elements of similarities.
Okay.
Yeah, I think this next tune that's about to come out. It's with my same Australian team. So I've worked with a
Okay.
few different teams with
Okay.
my album.
Mm-hmm.
I've got my Australian team that I do my production and songwriting and stuff with, but then I've got the American team as well that
Right.
I've
Okay.
recently been doing some different songs with. As I said, I love collaborating.
Mm-hmm.
But Hold On, yeah, it is different.
Mm-hmm.
But it's still in the R&B vein, and it's got a
Okay.
little bit of neo soul vibes to it as well.
Okay.
Which probably is what you're hearing. That's a bit different from Is It
Yeah.
You, which is a bit
Yeah.
more nostalgic, as you say, and
Yes.
traditional.
Yes.
But yeah, I think again, I have no rules when I write songs. I don't sit there and go, oh, I want it to sound like this, or I want to make sure I'm paying homage to this, or
Okay. Got you.
literally, it's just what I'm feeling, or I'll hear a track and I'll connect with it.
Yeah.
Or sometimes I'll sit at the piano and write my own chords and come up with something. And yeah, there's no real rules. It's just what I'm feeling. And I think in that particular moment when I wrote Hold On,
Mm-hmm.
I was feeling very vulnerable in that moment, where, I was going through a bit of a hard time, and I'm not the only person that goes through a hard time. We all go through our ups and downs, and sometimes we find it really difficult to navigate our way outside of those hard times. And, the message behind that song is really around holding on, embracing where you're at and not being afraid of it. And sometimes these imperfections or these issues that we have in our life, whilst they're hard at the time that you're going through it, it actually makes you the person that you are today. And it's actually those imperfections that make you perfect. And so that's part of the message behind that song, and just to hold on and just you'll get through it, and make sure you're true to all of those wonderful people you have around you and that support network that you have around you. And lean on them, because that's what they're there for. And, sometimes you feel afraid to go, I don't want to burden someone else, or I don't want to, they're busy at the moment. But if you really do need that helping hand, just reach out to those close people around you, because we're all human. We need that.
That's right. We
need
that
connection.
And it's true. When you find that, or when you have that, these challenges sometimes do help make you a better person.
Yes.
On the other side, when you kind of come through these things, it helps change your perspective. It helps you grow. And it also helps you to continue to influence others. Now, like you said, because now you've gone through it. Now you have a depth or an insight that you can share sometimes that one people may have never even known that you've experienced. Like, oh wow, Nardia's experiencing the same things that I am. But sometimes when you hear it from we live in a world where artists and entertainers um, have platforms now, like you say, as a brand, you can influence people just by you going through something that someone else is experiencing. So I think it's great, and I'm glad that shared that and now really understanding it in my mind. I'm sitting here listening, and some of the things that I've seen that I've been lurking and looking at. Now it makes
Mhm.
sense when I hear it and I see it from you. And we're coming to the back end of this conversation, Nardi, and there's a couple of things I want to ask. Is there anything one that you would like to share that maybe I didn't ask you, for our audience and our followers, maybe to pay attention to, where they can find you, like tour dates that are coming up here in the States or anything? We would love to be able to, I really want to push our audience to go out and see you, live. And I mean, I'm saying
Thank
that
you.
one for myself too, because if it's somewhere nearby, I'd love to come see you myself.
Oh, thank you.
Mhm.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I will say is that I'm a singer songwriter, and I'm an artist, and I with my music that I've put together, it's a place from my heart. It's a place from I'm a humble person, and when I'm writing songs and I'm putting music together, it's really for myself, of course, but also with an invested interest to, I guess, make a difference in people's lives, and hope that you can connect with my music and get those messages from my song around just trying to find ways to get through things, because really
Mm.
that's what I'm all about. I'm about standing up for adversity. I'm about embracing your imperfections, and I'm really excited about this next album because every single song that I have written, and I've got 12 songs on it, and that's very unheard of these days. Normally
That's
you have
right.
like
That's
8 to 10.
right.
Um, but every single song on this album has a message behind it,
Mm.
has really intricate instrumentation behind it. You'll hear it's probably the best work I've ever done in my entire life. With different when I went over to the States in April, I worked with so many different producers. So I had like maybe a producer working on a couple of songs. Then I had another producer that was working on another couple of songs. I basically worked with Darren James to pick the right producer for the right songs. For example, I wrote my title track of my album is kind of going to be called Own Every Scar.
Mm.
And that message within itself is very self-explanatory.
Yeah.
It's about everything that you've been through, and back to that message I was saying, owning your scars, like being proud of where you are and where you are in your life and where you come from and what sexual orientation you are and what culture you're from.
Hmm.
Like don't be afraid of that. Own that.
Right.
Own your traumas you've had, and find a way to navigate through it and be a better person from it.
Mm. Yeah.
And that particular song we brought to Boo Mitchell from Royal Studios in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
I'm sure you know who he is.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And I had the pleasure of bringing that old Memphis sound into that song. I was very excited. I got to sing on the wonderful mic that Al Green sang on as well,
Wow.
which gave it that
Wow.
retro-y sound.
Wow.
And we had the Memphis horns
Mm.
play on that track as well. And then there's a couple of other producers I worked with. One guy named CC, he was in Nashville, and he sort of does a lot more R&B and more hip hop artists. So some
Okay.
of my
Okay.
more contemporary tracks I did with him. So why I'm excited about this album and for everyone to hear it is I really put a lot of thought behind how the delivery of each song and the
Right.
right sort of people and musicians and producers behind each song to get it to the best it can possibly be.
Mm.
So
I love
can't
that.
wait for you to all hear it.
I can't wait either. It's been it's amazing. I'm excited to look forward. And just for fun, before we go, we're gonna have a little fun with Nardia before we get out of here and close out the show. All
I
right.
like having fun.
We like to have fun here too. Okay. So Nardia, if you had an opportunity to
Yes.
sing one song or duet with any artist, what past or current, which artist or whether it be sing that song or would you do a duet? Either way you want to go, who would it be?
Could I pick two?
Go for it. Go for it. Yeah, we want to hear. Yeah, go for it.
Only because I'm greedy and I want to collaborate. I like collaborating.
Go for it. Yeah. Ooh.
Well, for me, one of my ultimate, most favorite female vocalists of all time is the wonderful Etta James.
Oh, wow.
And why I love her is similar to me. I don't use auto-tune on any of my tracks. I'm a real, raw, as you say, you hear the vulnerability in my voice, honest type of vocalist. If a producer says to me, I'm going to put auto-tune to fix that note, I'm going to go, nah, let me do it again. I'll get it right. And I think, with Etta James, her delivery when she was singing a song at last, or, any of the tune, even there's this one tune she has, All I Could Do Was Cry. And the way that song was written, the way that she delivered it, the vulnerability in her voice. Yeah. I like to channel that in my music too. And I connect with her on many levels. Yes, because of the rawness and the vulnerability and the power and the strength and the dominance that she provides in her performance, but also like her, she comes from two different cultures. Her father was white and her mother was black, and I'm like my mum is Filipino and my dad is Italian, and so growing up with two different cultures, it can be confusing for people, and it doesn't always resonate with people. They're a bit like, you're mixed and they're weird, two different weird cultures. And do you feel more Italian or do you feel more Filipino? Or, I actually think you look more like this culture, right? And it's like, who cares?
Who cares? Right. Who cares? Who cares? Yeah.
I'm two different cultures, No, I'm not more than one or the other. I'm 50-50,
Right.
So I would love to collaborate with her, have a bit of a vocal battle off.
I love that.
And then the other artist from a male perspective, only because I see him collaborate with so many different artists, everyone from Anderson .Paak. There's this new Korean artist that he's just collaborated with. So you probably know where I'm heading, but done some stuff with Lady Gaga. And that's Bruno Mars. I think
super talented. Yeah.
Super talented. He's also half Filipino. So there's that cultural element as well, but also that I just think, he's talented. He does really great songs. And, I would love to write a song with him and perform something with him. That would be a dream come true.
Listen here. Anybody know Bruno Mars people? When you make this connection happen, we would love to have that and see that happen. I think those are two awesome, talents past and present. And I can see you. Like if y'all don't know, check Nardia, check her game out. she killing the game. And last question,
yes,
we live in a world, we see all of these superheroes and all of these type of things going on. So Nardia, if you were to have a superpower, Nardia's superpower, what would that entail if you were given one day one superpower to use at your will?
Ooh, that's a tough one to be put on the spot with. A superpower. I would go off to every single country that has poverty, and I would find a way to feed them all.
Wow. Wow, I love that.
And comfort them. And also, I'll tell you a little story. I went over I've traveled quite a lot. I've traveled pretty much all around the world, and you know, I went and visited a few orphanages in my time when I was in the Philippines, where my other half of my culture is. And I went in there and I bought all this food and toys, and I brought it into the orphanage. And I just sat with those kids and chatted to them, did some music with them. And what really broke my heart, I guess, was there was some young little babies in there that, some of the stories were that the parents just left them on the step and all of those sorts of things. But there was some young girls in there that were like 14 or 15 years old that had been in the orphanage their whole entire life. And that broke my heart, because I know that those orphanages are there for a reason and they're doing wonderful things. But, just an unclaimed child that's been there all the way till 15 years old. And then I just wonder what's going to happen when they turn 18. You know, where are they going to go? Where's their support network around them? So, yeah, if I had a superpower behind me, I'd feed everyone and make sure they were all well fed and help some of those kids that have got no families.
Listen, Nardia, I couldn't have ended the conversation any better. This not only shows who you are, now it even gives greater meaning and depth to your music. And I really appreciate you taking time out today to sit here and really open up so that we get to know you. And like I said, I encourage anyone who's watching this, or if you're listening to this on your favorite streaming platform, go out, check out Nardia. And before we go, Nardia, I want to give you also share your social media with our audience so I can make sure we put that in the show notes. We want to go ahead and support you and support your mission. We look forward to you coming here to the States.
Yeah, for sure. So yes, all of my socials have the same handle, and that's at Nardia Music. But in America, you like to say Nardia because I have an R in my name. So you'll remember being probably better that way, Nardia Music.
Yes.
And I also have a website, which is just www.nardia.com.au. And on that website, I have everything from, my shows that are coming up. So keep a lookout on that website, because I'll have shows in New Hampshire, in South Dakota, Chicago, Vegas, most likely Nashville. When I head over there, I'm still putting those shows up on my website, but just keep coming back or subscribe to my newsletter. And also that album I was talking about, you can pre-buy it on my website. I'm actually going to be releasing it on a vinyl, and I'll only be doing a limited amount of those vinyls. And already I've had quite a few sold. So yeah, head on over if you're interested in purchasing one, and I'll make sure that I sign it and get it out to you.
There you go, ladies and gentlemen. Go out there and get it for those of you, because vinyl is back again. We will make sure that we put all of that information in our show notes so that you can go ahead and go out and support Nardia. It's been an incredible journey. I could not think of a better way to close out season 8 of Two Mics Up. Listen, we're rolling along. Infusion TV is where you can now watch Two Mics Up, my own streaming channel. So make sure you check out Infusion TV on the #1 network for positive programming by downloading the free Mogul TV Global app. Everything doesn't stay free, people. So get it while it's free. You can get it on your Amazon or Roku TV device. We're now in 48 countries, 100 million viewable subscribers. So make sure you go ahead and download it. Check us out. Drop me a comment. Is there anybody you'd like to see, on the show? Anything you want to hear us talk about? Let me know. We're here for you. We're all about educating, empower, and positively impacting our community. And I want to thank you all for your support and for your love and your care. And like we do at the end of each and every show, ladies and gentlemen, I'm going to leave you with 3 things. May you all stay safe, stay blessed. Mike's out.
007.